Welcome to the TCS Women Podcast, where the ladies of the top contractor school are going to get together to discuss what it's like to be a woman in construction, leadership, and navigating the balance between it all. Your host for the TCS Women Podcast will be Carla Goldammer, who has been in construction for almost 30 years with D&J Site Construction. She will be accompanied by a rotation of co-hosts that include Elizabeth Reinman of RK Reinman Construction, Sandra Albert of Bay Country Contractors, Lillian Calloway of K&L Industries, and Kelsey Wright of Pro Line Parking Lot Maintenance. Let's get started.
Welcome back to another episode of TCS Women, the podcast where we highlight incredible women who are making an impact in the construction industry and beyond. I'm your host, Sandra Albert, and today I'm excited to sit down with someone who's played a vital role behind the scenes at Apex Solutions. Joining me is Mary Gonzalez, executive assistant to our lovely Kenny Blakesley. Mary is someone who not only helps keep the business moving forward, but also brings her own unique perspective and experiences as a woman supporting leadership in a fast-paced industry. We're going to talk about her journey, the skills, and the mindset that it takes to succeed in her role and the impact that she's making here at Apex Site Solutions. Mary, welcome.
Hi.
So be here today.
Thanks
So,
for having me.
for our audience, everyone knows who Kenny Blakesley is, but we don't know the actual person that keeps him on task and running on time and his day to day. And so now we get to see, into the person that really runs the show there. So
on task and in line for sure.
So, TCS, that's, top contractor school. We have this division here with women. And so we really like to have women on that. We want to hear your story. We want to know where you came from. Not everyone started in the construction industry. I really find that with women, myself, I started out in the collection industry, never thought I'd be in the construction industry. So it's a great way for, our audience to learn who you are, where you come from, and just kind of get to know you and what your journey looks like and how, you've been impacted along the way as a woman working in, a fashion of construction. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I moved to Sacramento in probably 4 years ago. I moved here to marry my husband. And so I left a great job back where I was living in Porterville for a pistachio company working for a wonderful family. And so I was scared to leave, but obviously something I needed to do for myself. And I left and I came here with no job. So I was, online on LinkedIn, on Indeed, and the recruiter from Apex reached out to me and did like a not a formal interview, but just a screen phone interview. And she was like, "Okay, you sound more like a traditional EA, and I think that's what we're looking for. I think Kenny would like to sit down with you, for a formal interview. Are you willing to come in?" I said, "Of course, yeah." So then after that, I looked online and social media and started looking at the company, and I was like, "Oh man!" And from where I came from and how close I was with that family as an executive assistant, I wasn't sure I was going to get into something that could be basically that close-knit family, right? So that's what I was searching for. And by looking at the social media, I was like, okay, maybe this is something that will turn into a blessing, right? So
Yeah.
I took that as I came from a great place and I love them. I still communicate with them. I still see them when I go into town. But I do have another family, Kenny and Brooke, that I'm super in love with and love what they do, how they are, and their family. So I've been very blessed, and God put me on this journey for a reason. So
Yeah. So in that transition from working in the pistachio world, which I think is so cool, I've never met anyone who comes from the pistachio world. So I want to get into that maybe a little bit later, but switching industries, tell me about that, right? You go from the pistachio world into this role. What did that feel like for you? I mean, did you feel like, I don't really have any, background in this? Did you feel like I feel like Apex Solutions is so welcoming that they'll provide the training. Like, was there any kind of hesitation that you didn't know much about this side of the industry? Like, how was that for you?
Um, First off, I did feel very welcome. Everyone was super nice, super helpful. I didn't even have the real onboarding that you would normally have as a new hire that I'm doing with new hires now, because he just, threw me right in here. I filled out my paperwork and I'm in the office and I'm like, what am I doing today? He's like, just listen, get my calendar in order, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. So start slow. And he's like, how long do you think it's going to take you to like really know my stuff? And I'm like, probably about 6 months. Right. And so we get to 6 months and he's like, you actually were kind of right. I'm like, I know, I told you, like, I'm going to get to stuff before you even touch it, before you tell me to do it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, your question on, I forgot the question actually.
Just about you switching industries, like, right? Like you went from the pistachio world into this role, like,
Yeah. I mean, it's different. I was mainly an executive assistant there, and I did a lot of the, traditional stuff, like if I needed to help the nanny with the kids, or if I needed to go grocery shopping for her, or if I was running numbers on, the pounds going out to China. You know what I mean? Like, I did whatever she asked me to do, and if I didn't know how to do it, I would learn it. So
well,
coming here, it was the same thing. I didn't know much about pistachios either, but I learned a heck of a lot while I was there.
yeah.
And the same thing with telecom. The only thing I knew about telecom and cell phones, growing up, my parents were self-employed, and my mom had a cell phone shop, and my dad did home theater. Before that, they owned a car stereo business. So it's always like, technology based stuff. So I knew I would find it interesting. And now, I'm here and I love it. I love learning new things. There's still times where we'll be in meetings and I'll write down little notes and then come to the office and I'm like, what does end user mean? End user. And Kenny's like, it doesn't mean end user, it means end user. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Okay. So it's just learning those little, how they talk. It's different.
Yeah.
Telecom talks differently, just like pistachio talk is different.
Right, right. So tell me, like, as your role as an executive assistant to Kenny, like, what does that look like on a daily basis?
It is all over the place. It is not the same thing every day.
Mm.
And obviously stuff happens from, 5 to 11 p.m. at night at a site or wherever. And, if he has to get involved, and that becomes a priority. And so I ask him, majority of the time, I'll ask him, hey, what are your top 3 today? What are your priorities? And he'll be like, okay, I'm going to get to these 3 things. And so I know in my mind, if I need anything from him, because he'll say, do you need anything from me today? And I'm like, one thing, can you answer this? And then I can take care of the rest. And so that's basically how the whole day goes,
Mhm.
And now that I have some HR duties and I've done social media for the past 2 years, I think, I also have to fit that into what he needs, right? Because I need to make sure that stuff is done. So, and he knew that giving me extra duties I was gonna slack a little bit on EA stuff. So I've tried to not let that happen. It may exhaust me, but I hate to fail. And so if I do something wrong, it's one of our core values, accountable. If I do something wrong, like, shit, oh, I did that, right? And then I'm like, okay, don't get mad at me. He's like, you get mad at yourself hard enough. Like, I don't need to get mad at you. So
Wow.
I just, learn by doing, and I want to get to his stuff before he even asks for it. So just being ready and being accountable and tenacious and trying to get stuff done.
Yeah. So you were just talking about kind of the qualities of what it takes to be an EA. But you mentioned about the core values. Have you ever worked for a company before that really implemented those core values or talked about that in their culture?
Maybe a little bit, but not to this extent. I worked at a charter school. I was the secretary, the head secretary. So you're telling all the teachers and the principal what they're doing, right? And the parents and the kids. But they didn't, it was for 7 years and it didn't stick in my mind. And I know these ones will stick in my mind, forever. So they weren't as dominant, I guess you would say.
Mm. Yeah. So as an employee, do you think it's important to have core values? Like, do you think that makes a difference inside of the company?
I do. There's actually been quite a few employees where they'll come in as a green person or maybe an experienced climber or something. They'll leave, because they think, another job is better or they don't want to go out of town as much. But a few months later, they're calling and they want to come back. And I really feel like it's about the culture, the core values, like they're coming back for that because it's something that I think people seek at work.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it really just it brings everyone together and it has you work together as a team, right? Because you all are, putting those values together and it just makes you stronger. I always think of like the geese when they fly, in the V, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like bringing your team into the V by having those core
Yep.
values.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Right, right.
If you got one person, you're far more apt to succeed if you have 10 more following, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So, as an executive assistant, when I think about like your day-to-day task and your roles, I feel like they really can. I mean, I serve our president of our company and I'm vice president, but like I'm HR, I'm contracts, I'm AP, I'm AR, right? Like so you just pile all these things onto my plate. And
right.
very much like your role of what you're doing, things get piled onto your plate. So how do you find the balance of like what you're okay with doing, what you're not okay with doing? How do you set that as an executive assistant? Because I feel like those roles and those, tasks that are put on you, they can become daunting. And like where do you define that?
Um, I guess one flaw I have is I don't really have boundaries. And I don't want to say no, I can't do something. So I will figure out a way, whether it's not sleeping as much or doing something extra or maybe asking someone else, which I don't like to ask other people for things because I would rather just do it myself so I know it's done the way I want it done and
Uh,
correctly, and then I don't have to go back and check it later.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I yeah, I I f- I figure it out. But if there is a time where I need to say, I give up, or there's this project I had to figure out. It took me probably 3 weeks to a month to figure it out, but it's just another core value, staying tenacious, like at it every day. I'm emailing them, I'm looking it up, I'm calling them just to figure out this one thing, but it needed to be figured out for business development department, and they didn't have the time to do it, so Mary did it, right? So I figured it out, which was great, but it's one of those things where it's on my to-do list and I can't, it bugs me to see something not crossed off.
Yeah.
So I'm tenacious in figuring it out to cross it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if I have it in my calendar, I'm doing it. So that's another thing. My calendar is a lifesaver and I control Kenny. So if he's like, "Hey, we're going to do this." I'm like, "No, you're not doing that today. You can do it tomorrow." And he's like,
Mm.
"Why? You have this, this, and this, and you promised you wouldn't miss this last time, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Oh yeah." So I have to keep that calendar up to date.
Yeah. I feel like that too, setting boundaries, right? Of being, not only keeping yourself on task, but also keeping Kenny on task. I mean,
Yeah. We
that's
did have
not
a little thing last week.
oh,
Someone else
please
came
share.
Yeah, someone else came in and was like, "Hey, Mary, can you do this?" And like I said, I have a problem saying no, I can't help you.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, sure. I'll figure it out." And it got to the point to where I was doing this when he had asked me to do something and
Mm.
his list got put underneath that list. So I did learn there. I did learn I need to make sure that whatever is, my top priority is obviously what he needs me to do. And
Right.
then it's HR, and then it's social media, and then it's biz dev, you know?
Mhm. Right. Right. And I think part of that too comes with growth within the role, right? Of understanding like, he can have things, on his to-do list, but for you to really know him and to really know what he prioritizes, and what he wants you to prioritize. So it's more than a role, right? It's so much psychology of just being able to interpret things and to be able to lead in a way where people are dependent on you, but you also like play the strong role with Kenny, of finding that balance. I will tell you that I find myself sometimes it's hard to decipher of what's my role of serving the president like an executive assistant while also serving my team as a vice president. Who comes first? Is it the owner of the company
Mm.
or is it the employees, right? Like it's finding that balance of me sometimes having to say, okay, employee first, right? Or sometimes saying, okay, owner first, like and deciphering. And I feel like that just takes time to really get to know like what the expectation is for you and what's the expectation for your team and how you're leading them. So
Right. And do you have an example that you can give to where you had to choose one task over the other? And
I mean, I'm put in that situation every day. Every day. Yeah, I mean, I wake up every day and I want to serve my team and I want to serve the president. And I literally reach out on a regular basis to the owner and to my team and say, like, how can I serve you? But when you know, so I'll just say, for instance, like the president, I manage his mother's health care. So I manage her home health nurse, doctors, uh, pharmacy, medication refills, things like that. So, but when I allow my time with that to impede inside of the business, then it becomes a problem, right? Because like ultimately I'm hired here to serve the team and then finding that boundary of like, okay, this is really now impacting me on a level that it's affecting my job, right? So, I've had to go out and I've hired, a nurse who oversees her care. I still manage that nurse, but finding solutions that allow me to keep doing my job, which make his life easier, but like allows us to move together forward as a company because I'm serving in both capacities.
right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean
it's hard.
it is hard, and it's hard of like I'm a pleaser just like you. I don't say no, right? Like and sometimes I feel like I get pushed back on that. From my friends and family. People don't understand like, well, that's silly. Why would you do that? That's not part of your job. But there is no really defined role of my job. It starts here and then it like kind of goes out like
Expanding.
right. It's the geese. It's the
Yes, I agree. I
and
agree.
so, like, I feel, very much probably like a lot of our audience, like, being an entrepreneur, there's no defined like role. This is not a corporate job, 9 to 5, that I plug in at 9 and I plug out at 5. Like, that's not how this works. And when you work for an entrepreneur, like, it's you, it's not like I can be like, oh, well, let me call down to such and such department and get that taken care of for you. No, I'm the department,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
I am the HR and the contracts and some of the billing and, you name it. Like, so yeah, I feel that, that role it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to find the balance. And I'm the first one to say that, like, there's no balance here,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't know I don't know when to say no, and I don't know how to turn it off. But I also know that like it fulfills me, right? Like
Yeah.
to know that I'm serving in the kind of capacity to our team members, to the president, to his mom, like it gives me this feeling of, gratitude, one, that I've been given this opportunity to serve. And two, just gratefulness that I am making an impact in somewhere in somebody's life. Like I'm making it easier for them, whether it's on a business side or a personal side.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. Serving it makes me so happy. You know, it
Yeah.
it's a sense of fulfillment that I can't get from anywhere else. You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I
doing
mean,
for others that satisfies me. Which there's a lot of people that aren't like that. They just want to do their own stuff, stay in their own line. You know, and I want to help, 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 help.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I'm volunteering at an event this weekend. And I went to a meeting about it this week, and basically I'll be there from around 10 a.m. till probably 10 p.m. And somebody said to me, they were like, "Oh my gosh, like that's a long time, and you don't really have the time." And the answer is right. I really don't have the time. Because weekends are, laundry, grocery shopping, cleaning, all of like your regular things that you don't get done during the week. So I do not have time to give. But at the same time, like, even though it really is going to probably set me back for getting the things that I need to get done for the week, I know that I will just be that much more fulfilled that I was able to serve our community and volunteer my time. And while my time is very valuable, I feel that, like, because I'm pouring in, like I said, to the community, like there's no better reward than that for me.
Right.
So, and I feel like we share that. And I feel like
Yeah.
to be in a role like ourselves, like we are in, you have to have that servant mentality, When people don't serve, though, I also look at them like, what is wrong with you? Like, what do you mean you don't want to do that? It's hard for me to interact with people that don't have that same type of mentality.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody who shuts it off at 5, right? We just said that. So when somebody's like running out the door at 4:59, and they're like, "I'll just deal with it tomorrow." And I'm like, "What? You're going to wait? You're going to
Yeah.
wait? You're not going to just stay and get it done, but that's not their priority, right? Like they have a boundary. And then for me to have to be accepting of that and to respect that. And, I'm like, okay, well, I'll be here until 11 o'clock tonight. So you guys have a great time,
Yep.
Um,
Yep. I can't
yeah.
stand notifications. So if an email comes through, like at 10:30 last night, I'm gonna pay the sponsorship and I'm gonna get the receipt and save it and then go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That way it's done. I don't have to handle it this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about the type of industry that you work in, right? It seems that it's would be still a male dominated industry. Talk about that. Obviously you said you worked in, the charter school, and you also shared that you worked in the pistachio company. Were those male dominated industries for you?
No, female in the school district.
Mhm.
And with the pistachio company, it was pretty fair, actually, men and women.
Okay.
Yeah. So now it's obviously male dominant.
Mm.
I think the only difference between, a female in this industry is we're empathetic.
Yeah.
We encourage, I'm not saying men don't, women are just better at it. Maybe it's because they're bearing children, I don't know, but we're more empathetic, encouraging, and I think open.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you, because you're newer to this industry and telecommunications, do you feel like you've received any kind of pushback for being a woman or having lack of knowledge in this industry?
I don't believe so. I think when I go to mixers or, social events that they see me as Kenny's, babysitter, basically. you know, y- where's Kenny at? What is he
I
doing?
love that.
If I have a problem with Kenny, do I need to call you or should I just tell him? I said, tell me, I'll take care of it. Um, I, I don't know. I feel like once I started speaking up, which was probably about a year ago, and Kenny gave me the confidence to speak up, whether it be in meetings or at events or whatever. He's like, you know what? Just tell them you don't know anything about the industry. Guide them to who they need to talk to.
Uh-huh.
People, relationships, and you know how to communicate,
Yeah.
and you're good at it. So
Yeah.
use that.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'm still trying to learn. So when guys send me videos on the sites and I'm trying to put together a reel, I have to figure out first to last picture, how does this work? So then I'm asking Kenny, and then he kind of explains it to me, right? And then I'm asking one of the construction managers, and he's like, no, this goes before that. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm learning there too, right? It's a learning lesson every day. But I love it because I love learning.
Yeah. Yeah. So because you kind of manage the social media, does that mean you get to go out onto sites? Do site visits at all?
I do site visits. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. When I come out, when Kenny and I go out together on a site, I'm like recording him doing all the thing. And now I went out there the other day by myself with and I'm like, well, it's just me with the guys. Like, we need to take a selfie or something, or else I wasn't even here. And so they're like, okay. And then, they'll talk amongst themselves and be like, if we don't send Mary a picture, we're going to get in trouble. So, it's cute. They hate when I come around and take their pictures, but then they love it when I post it. So,
Right.
and we spiff them. We have a spiff program. So that entices them a little bit.
Ooh, talk about that.
Well, they're these things right here. They're Amazon gift cards. And so anywhere between $10 and $100. We give them out on Monday morning, so I remember whose story I repost or who sent in pictures, and basically pay them if I use the photo, it's $10, and then if I make a reel, or if they make a reel for me and I don't have to put it together, it's $100.
Wow.
So I just need some context on what to put for the site. So that's one thing that has really helped me on social media, because I don't have to figure out what to post.
Yeah.
My main thought is to do 3 posts a week and try to do stories throughout the day every day. But if I don't get to it, I don't get mad at myself. So I'm trying to not get mad at myself for certain things.
Sure. I love this. I love this idea. Was this something that was already implemented before you came on board, or was that something that you and Kenny put together?
I don't think it was put together when I first started. When we had a different biz dev guy here, I want to say we started it up when he was here. And so he used to send it out via email. And I thought, you know what, touch in hand, and they get it the day, then they can go give it to their wife or girlfriend, make them happy. Right. So
Yeah.
it's worked out pretty well.
And do most employees participate in that?
I would say majority of them do. There was, a couple weeks ago, I sent out a text message to all the foremen, and I said, or no, I sent it to all the tower techs, so like the field crews, minus the foreman. And I said, hey, we're going to do a little competition here, because the foremen are the ones sending me the pics all the time. So let's see if you guys can do any better. And they freaking surpassed the foreman by like 10 different people.
Oh my God.
It was great. It was great. So I wanted to make sure Kenny said something on Monday mornings, because I record our meetings on Monday mornings. So I don't speak. I don't go up and give out the spiffs. I have Kenny do that. So I, wanted him to make sure that they won.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. That's really amazing. So we've talked about obviously your role with Kenny and Apex, but let's talk about personal life. Are you a mom?
I am a mom. My kids are grown.
Okay.
26, 23, and 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that allows you to work ridiculous hours, because you don't really have to go home to any of your littles anymore.
Yeah. I am married, and I have a stepson, and he's there half the time. So we do have that, but he's not in any sports, so it's not like we're going to practices or anything. My youngest son is playing JUCO football, so now every Saturday we have a game to go watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're seasoned in your career. Is there anything that you could tell our audience of women that, are either single moms or career-driven moms, of finding the balance, right? Like, you were successful and helped them get to their 20s, right? Like, I think our followers, our listeners, we struggle with that of finding the balance of being involved in their career, but also being home with the kids. What do you think that, like, tell me about your career. How have you done that? As a mom, how have you found that balance?
I would say communication is number one. And that's what this industry, telecom, is all about, communication. I would say that I communicated it very well to my previous bosses that, hey, I've got 3 kids. This is my main concern. Their dad and I are not together, so I'm not going to be late. I'm not going to not attend game, blah, blah, blah. So there was always that. Number one, have this understanding of, this is my personal life. And if I have to come in later or stay late one day to make up for that, and all of them were, on board with it. They were fine with it. And obviously everyone else that I worked for had kids too, so they understood.
Yeah.
So I've always worked for really understanding bosses. I've never had a person that said, you can't go to that game, you can't go to that award ceremony. And, when the kids were younger, I worked at their school. So that was easy. I attended all the award ceremonies. Dad dropped them off early and they'd sit in the office with me. So I feel like, and then I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years before that, just raising him at home. So when I started to go back to work, it was different for them, right? But then we just, it was just a little turn in the journey, and we figured it out and we made it work.
Yeah.
My advice would be communicate to your boss, your importance, there's no, what is the word I'm looking for? It's, Sandra, you know what I'm trying to
Well,
say.
it's part of your core values, right? Like the importance of what's important to you and allowing
My why. Yeah. I guess my why.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like knowing what your own personal core values are, and then when searching for, a company to work for and knowing what their core values are, do they align? Do they support the family dynamic? Do they support you working from home when your kids are sick? Do they provide resources to be able to do that? Do they sponsor your kids, soccer team, and will they, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's how you can really tell, what a company's all about. I know specifically for myself of like, the owner, of our company, he's a single dad. And so, there's nothing that he won't stop to do to make sure that his son is taken care of, whether it's, football or games or whatever it is, it just, I've got to go take care of this. And so I think when you model that behavior from the top, it makes for a really healthy culture inside of your company for sure.
Yeah, agreed. And Kenny totally supports that. So
Yeah.
whether it be with me or with someone else in the company, all the leadership team, tower techs, when these guys have graduations for their kids or award ceremonies, yep, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's never a problem.
Yeah. 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 I'm trying. So, I've shared a little bit with the audience that my daughter is graduating high school this year.
Oh my
And for
God.
me, I know, I'm not okay. Please send help. For me, I feel
It's
like,
hard.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Where was the class on that when your kid graduates? And like, you for so long, you wait for them to grow up. And it's like, oh man, like I remember the first time that she made a sandwich, I about fell over. I was like, she's going to make it. Like she made a sandwich, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, yes. Like, and I remember like being like, God, I can't wait till she can do X. And I can't wait till she can do this. Like, oh, I can't wait till she can drive herself or whatever. And then like when you actually reach those milestones as a mom, it's like, oh God, like that's it. Like, this is it. Like, and so going back to what we're talking about, like the core values and not missing things, to me, I feel like this year I really need to like pay attention and slow down because these are going to be her last, right? Her last homecoming, her last senior sunrise, her last, prom, whatever the event is, of just making sure that this year, the communication of her, communicating to me like you were talking about what's happening so I don't miss anything. And while they may not be a big deal for her, right? They are a huge deal for me.
Right. And not only being there, but being present, like really being present, right? I'm not going to get my phone out. I'm not going to look at my email right now. I'm not going to return a text message right now.
Yeah.
And that's
So
hard for people like us.
right.
Yeah.
Like typical, executive assistant vice president. I write her a letter every year before she starts school. And I wrote her letter this year, and I read it to my husband, and I just bawled my eyes out because I was like, oh my God, like this is the first day of school. Of course she's going to go to college and whatever, but like,
Right.
those last moments, and my husband was like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm not okay. Like, this whole year, I'm not going to be okay.
Yeah.
But I also am excited about, obviously her growing her wings and her leaving the nest. She's ready to go, which I'm super excited about. I'm proud of her of wanting to be so independent. Thea, if you're listening, not so independent where you have to leave right away, but I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her because she has a direction in life and she's really just ready to go. And when she was little, I used to like pick up her arms and I would be like, what are these? And she would be like, my wings. And I would say to her, what are you going to do with your wings? She's like, fly the nest. But now I'm like, I'm breaking those wings, right? Like,
You don't work anymore.
not going anywhere now. But yeah, no, I mean, I think part of it too, of being a role model to her in this industry of, having a voice, right? Of being able to speak up. I've shared in the past that I've changed industries. And I just want to be a role model for her of, when she's set out on a path, for her, she's still kind of questioning what her career path looks like. But, in speaking of what your career path has been, my career path has kind of bounced around. I said to her, at 18 years old, you don't have to know what you're going to be when you grow up, right? It's going to change, right? You can work in the charter school. You can work for a pistachio company.
That's right. Bring pistachio home to mom.
Right. And I think that's, again, goes back to the role that we play, inside of our companies, inside of our homes, of, the path that we are purging forward for us, and not only for us, but for our children as well. Um, so another question I had for you, working with Kenny, what, leadership lessons have you learned, from him, that maybe have inspired you?
I would say intentional communication and research. And, when he speaks, he's very genuine. There's no BS. There's no sugarcoating. And that speaks volumes to me as to how I should be speaking, because I get so scared or not unsure of myself when in my head, like, I know what I'm talking about, but just to have the confidence to get it out. And he has helped me do that. So I would say his communication, definitely.
Hmm.
He's a leader that communicates with integrity and impact.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you see yourself as being somebody like that? How you describe Kenny? Do you see yourself as, mentoring women inside of the workplace?
I see myself as getting there. I feel like people come to me now and, they're having an issue and they don't want to talk to someone else, so they'll talk to me about it. So I feel like I am that soundboard for a lot of people, not only Kenny, but all the employees here. And I wouldn't really call myself a mentor, but they know that they can come to me, or they know that they can text me if they're upset about something or something personal is going on in their life. They know that they can tell me and I'm going to help them through it. So I don't know. I feel like that's my impact. I'm just here. I'm here and I'm a brand ambassador. I love Apex and what it stands for, and I want to share that and I want others to feel it.
So for some of our viewers that are listening, I did a podcast with Brooke Blakesley, Kenny's wife. If you haven't listened to it, you need to. And part of that podcast was her and I talking about the education and the involvement that Kenny and Brooke and, your entire team at Apex have in the education of sex trafficking.
Mhm.
So for you coming on to Apex Site Solutions, was that something that you were like, have you ever had any kind of, training to know, what to look for in sex trafficking? Had you ever worked for a company that's even talked about sex trafficking?
No,
No.
never. So I came here. I didn't even know that that was part of it because I think I remember seeing one of the posts on social media, but I would just thought, okay, they do this on the side or something. But when onboarding, they make you take the training. And I
Hmm.
was like, this is really cool. This could help a lot of people. And then after that, I started obviously telling my kids and my husband, like, hey, this is actually, these are the little signs that some of these people do. And, started telling them stories. So, and my husband works for CHP. He works in IT, so he's got a bunch of stories, himself. Um, but knowing that Kenny and Brooke have such an impact on starting the Tate, initiative, that was big. I was like, okay, like
Yeah.
they're trying to do big things, and I'm all about it.
Yeah. You don't sex trafficking is everywhere, right?
Mhm.
Brooke and I talked about that. But it's not something. It's everywhere. It's happening around the corner from you, down the street. But it's not something we really talk about, right?
Right.
It's it's happening and you hear about it. But to be able to bring the education to your employees, to me, has just been so powerful.
Mhm.
It's one of the things that I really look up to Kenny. I remember the first time I met him and I shook his hand and it was very firm and we connected in this conversation. I could feel the passion in him. And to bring that, like I said, to the team, and to provide education and to provide, fundraising and awareness, like to me, I think that's such a cool thing that Apex really it makes them stand out, and to work for a company like that. I mean, that would make me very excited to be a part of that.
Heck
Um,
yeah, we're all about making, our people better, communities we work for better. I mean, 1% better every day, right? So whether it's the community or the people or, the task that we're doing.
yeah, absolutely. So, what would be like a mantra, a quote, a life lesson that's something that keeps you grounded and motivated?
So I'm going to say a few things
All right.
because
Do it.
tenacious. That's just me.
Ooh,
I'm going to
I love it.
freaking figure it out. Okay.
Yes.
And then 1% better. So these are two of our core values. 1% better. Because I'm always, trying to get better. I don't want to ever suck at anything. So,
Mm.
I'll ask Kenny when we have our one-on-ones, hey, should I have done something better this week on this issue or, and he'll give me insight on it or say, no, you did good. Maybe just have more confidence next time when you speak.
Mm.
Um, and rise above our tagline.
Mm.
Just rise above everything. All the BS that's happening in the world or in families. There's issues all day long. Everybody is going through something. So let's rise above it. Let's be better for them. Make someone else's day. I'm telling you, it could make a huge impact if just smiling at someone,
Yeah.
smiling at them or saying, oh, you look pretty today. Or, hey, that's a nice jacket. That one comment could save a person's life because you don't know what they're going through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I held the door the other day for this woman and she literally turned around and said, "I'm sorry, excuse me." And I was like, "Yes." And she was like, "Thank you for holding the door for me." And I was like, "Oh yeah, no problem." She was like, "It's probably been 2 or 3 years before it since somebody's ever held the door for me."
Oh,
And something so simple as holding the
yeah.
door, right? Like it takes 2 seconds. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, like to me, that's second nature. That's
Right.
part of our serving, right? I want to hold the door open. Yeah.
Same.
But
And if we had more people like that, then this world would be a better place.
yeah.
Right. So if we just start off small and just work our way out and grow our wings to fly, then it would be a better place to live.
Yeah. 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 All right. Well, one last question for you. Looking ahead, what goals do you have for yourself, either personally or professionally?
Oh, geez. I'll give you two answers.
Yeah.
So professionally, I would probably like to do an all hands again, which is I have a spreadsheet where we have someone from the company go up and lead our all hands on Monday mornings. And so either I'll voluntold someone to do it or they volunteer themselves to do it. And I don't like getting up and speaking, so I've only done it twice. And that was because one of the people that I told they were going to do it didn't show up that day. So then I had to do it. I had to, okay, I could do this. I could do this. And it was okay. It wasn't bad. And then the other day, our CFO wanted me to give the core value speech on accountability. And so that was 2 times I've gotten up, but not by choice. Right. So I plan on doing that in the future, and then I'll have someone else record. And then personal, probably be able to take time off without thinking about one thing at work. Like that is a goal, because I'm always worried about, oh, what if I didn't do this, or what if I need to do this, or, it's hard to relax. And I don't want anything to fall apart because I didn't do something.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. No, I get that. Let's roll back to what you said. You don't like to speak publicly, girl. I'm going to need you to step out of your comfort zone. So welcome to your first objective of meeting your goal. You're on the TCS Women podcast.
Woo! Now I don't have to do it all hands. I'm going to tell Kenny, see, I did it.
You did it. You did it.
That's right.
Yeah. Being a part of a community, joining our calls, we have a TCS Women All Call. It's geared for women like yourself, for employees. We do really encourage our community to jump in on those calls. And then we also have, our calls for the community within TCS. We're here to help you grow, and we're here to spotlight women. The founding women of TCS Women, we want to reach out to people like you. We want to reach out to people like that are in our audience of, how did you get here? What have you experienced, becoming a woman in construction? What makes you you? What are your core values? The whole aspect of being a mom, how that plays in. Because men are like, yeah, kids, whatever, but
let's give moms take care of it. Yeah.
Right. We'll have the emotional side to it. Talking about that, me serving the president, I will tell you that there are some days that I just need to cry. And I'll tell you, Mary, he at first did not handle that very well. And he was like, why are you crying again? And I was like, I can't help it. Sometimes it just happens, right? Like as women, like we are emotional, and that's how we lead. And I'm like, I just need a moment. Like I can have a crying session over here.
Yep.
And 12 minutes later, I'm coming back.
Let me get back to you later. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm coming back in like the lion that I was. I just needed to have a moment,
So I've cried 3 times in the 4 years working here. And he'll be like, what happened? I'm like, I'm just emotional right now. Let me cry this out, and I'll be fine. I'll be back in here. We'll get back to it.
Yeah. And sometimes when you're crying and you'll be so pissed and you're like, why am I crying right now? Like you're mad that you're even crying, but you can't help it. Like you can't. The emotion side takes over, and I actually get mad at myself because I'm like, oh, this is showing my weakness. It's not showing.
I get mad at myself too. And then I go home and tell my husband, and my husband's like, why would you cry? I'm like, oh my God, stop.
Yeah.
I feel like I made a mistake. But did you? Yeah. No? Well, then why did you cry? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, Mary. Well, I really appreciate your honesty and your insights and the encouragement you've shared for other women who may be looking to grow inside of this industry. Your perspective shows how important every role is to the bigger picture. And I know that our listeners will take away a lot of value from this conversation. To our audience, thank you, as always, tuning into TCS Women. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could be inspired by Mary's story. Until next time, keep paving the way for women in construction.
Welcome to the TCS Women Podcast, where the ladies of the top contractor school are going to get together to discuss what it's like to be a woman in construction, leadership, and navigating the balance between it all. Your host for the TCS Women's Podcast will be Carla Goldammer, who has been in construction for almost 30 years with D&J Site Construction. She will be accompanied by a rotation of co-hosts that include Elizabeth Reinman of RK Reinman Construction, Sandra Albert of Bay Country Contractors, Lillian Calloway of K&L Industries, and Kelsey Wright of Pro Line Parking Lot Maintenance. Let's get started.